I think that's my community, the gay, Indigenous Australian boys. And that's where I feel really at home because I can just be myself. I would want language to be in schools, First Nations language to be in schools. I'd want the proper Indigenous stories told of what actually happened. Because Australia's got a dirty history. No, well, you just see people on Facebook or Instagram and you're like, oh, shit, you actually care about me and my future and my people. Always be true to yourself. Always be yourself, and don't hide.
To make you feel proud.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hi. How's your day?
Good.
You know, I was thinking that you could come as a boy or you could come as a girl. How is living with two gorgeous personalities? How is like you could be whatever you want in your day?
Well, you know what? Some people actually change personas. I don't.
Exactly the same.
Exactly
Sometimes
the
you don't
same.
even shave.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, it's fun. My boy style of dancing is different to my girl style of dancing, obviously because I'm wearing heels in one and flats in the other, but yeah, it's...
When did you first start doing drag?
It was 26th of April, 2004.
What time?
Yeah, I was working as a backup dancer in a gay nightclub in Darwin.
Yeah.
And the owners of the nightclub said, we want you in drag. And I'm like, no, I'm a boy dancer. But then after some persuading, they put me in a dress and that's how it happened.
So Josie Baker is your drag name.
Yeah.
Okay. Josie Baker was crowned the first Miss First Nations.
Yeah.
I have been looking at the Miss American pageants, how they wish for world peace. What does Josie wish for?
I guess equality and understanding. You know, there's a lot of dumb people out there who just don't read newspapers or just don't know the history of Australia. And, you know, that's ignorant. See, growing up, I didn't learn about Captain Cook. I learnt about politics. So it's just, I would want language to be in schools, First Nations language to be in schools. I'd want the proper Indigenous stories told of what actually happened. Because Australia's got a dirty history. It's got a complex history.
To make you feel proud.
Tell me a little bit about growing up in Darwin, your life, your heritage, and how did you end up here doing all the fabulous things you do?
So growing up in Darwin was actually quite fun. You know, everyone got teased when they were younger and all that type of stuff. But I have a really amazing family. Like, we're all close, we all talk, we all share the same jokes. And yeah, growing up was great. I hated school. I thought school was a really big waste of time. Because I'm creative, I just felt like school wasn't for me. Maths, English, biology, whatever. Like, it wasn't for me.
You come from a mixed family?
Dad's Indigenous, First Nations Australian, and so is Mum. But Mum also has a white Australian background.
What was it like coming to the big city, and why did you come to the big city?
I've always performed. I used to be a teen model, believe it or not.
Target catalogue.
Yes. Yeah, I've always performed. But my grandmother was the one who said, you should go to musical theatre school. So she showed me this newspaper clipping and she's like, you need to go to Badu shows in Melbourne. So I finished high school all the way to year 12. I left Darwin when I was 17 years old and went to musical theatre school.
Growing up in Darwin, did you feel part of the queer community? How did you identify, and what was that moment, if there was a moment, that you felt connected with the gay community?
I kind of came out really young. when I was 15. I had a boyfriend when I was 15. My parents knew about it. So yeah, I kind of was quite comfortable with myself. Always have been. And yeah, like moving to the big city, I kind of came out of my shell more.
Was there a moment for you that you felt, this is my tribe, or this is... I know you have had a community upbringing, and I'm not sure whether there was no need for you to feel connected with another community.
Funny you say that, because when I moved to Sydney, growing up, I never used to hang around with boys. I used to just hang around with girls. But in Sydney, I found a whole big group of gay black men to hang around, and we just run riot. Like, we laugh at the same jokes. Like, it's just like, you get us all together, you won't be able to get a word in. Like, I think that's my community, the gay Indigenous Australian boys. And that's where I feel really at home, because I can just be myself. Sometimes, you know, you hang around with your white friends and you have to act differently. They don't understand your jokes.
You can just be yourself.
Yeah.
But you also work with Indigenous kids in the art space.
So I work at the Australian Film, Television and Radio School here in Sydney, and I create film projects and travel Australia with them. While I travel Australia with them, I then try to lure them into coming to film school to study full time. Lure them.
Seduce them into art. Does it take much convincing? How do you find these kids? Are they disconnected? Do they have the need for art?
First Nations Australians are creative anyway. Like, that was how we told stories, through song and dance. So I think every First Nations person throughout the whole world is creative. It doesn't take much convincing. The only convincing it takes is that they have to move to Sydney. And that's really hard for some people who live in regional and remote areas of Australia.
Is that because of the connection with the land? Or is that because they don't want to leave their family? Or because the big city's scary?
All those things, yeah. Like, Sydney's expensive, a big city. A lot of people don't want to leave home, leave family, because they have responsibility. And yeah, it's hard to leave your country.
This is a very important time for the movement in general. We have found ourselves talking more than ever about Black lives. How has it been for you? I know it's a conversation that somehow came through to Australia via the US, but it is a relevant conversation for us. Has it been difficult to discuss this? Like, every time you open the television, you turn on the television, it's there. I remember the gay debate for marriage, that it was so difficult, so traumatic for a lot of people. How is this for you?
I mean, I'm quite privileged. I've got a job, I live in a great house, I've got great friends and family. A lot of people don't have that. And it's really hit home because...
What would this mean to your parents? Or your grandma?
I guess it just means equality. I mean, we were only, in 1967, we were told that we can vote, that we were actually humans, that we weren't flora and fauna of Australia. So this is a big step. It's actually making a lot of people realise that we've been here for a long time and we've survived this whole time, and that we do matter, that we do have a voice. And it's quite funny because just being on social media and stuff and seeing everyone, like, I see a lot of Anglo-Saxon people, like, as my ally. And that's like amazing. Like,
That never happened before?
No, well, you just see people on Facebook or Instagram and you're like, oh, shit, you actually care about me and my future and my people. Whereas if I see them down the street or at a nightclub or whatever, it's like, you would never...
You would never think that?
I would never think that.
If you were to change one thing from today to next year's Pride, Yeah, like Josie had a magic wand. Wave your wand and change something. What would that be? Would that be what you just said now? Would it be something more specific or something bigger?
I guess for more visibility for queer Indigenous people and Indigenous people.
That's
in
what
general.
we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were asking me before, why we're doing this. It is about visibility.
Yeah.
The more content we put out there, the more understanding we get from the audience. If you were to go back in time, like we've gone to the future with our wand, what would you say to your younger self, or to anyone that's growing up, but maybe to somebody that's growing up less privileged than you did?
Always be true to yourself. Always be yourself, and don't hide.
Yeah, don't hide. I love that. It's a great way to end. I would say do a drop like you did in Athens, but then I'd have to match it.